Whew, gotta catch my breath. Oh my goodness, girl. You're probably like, Monique, where have you been? And I just wanted to take this time to give you a life update about what's been going on with me and where I've been, why you haven't heard from me. If you're a part of my email community, then you already know. But your girl was in a coma. So let me just get into it. Boom. So last year, November 20th of last year, I tested positive for CV. We're gonna call it CV, okay? That's the 20th. That's the Saturday. That Thursday was Thanksgiving. I had no taste for Thanksgiving. In between that time, my mother came down. She was like, Monique, do you want me to be with you and help you out? I was like, yes, please. And so that's the 25th, I think. Thanksgiving was the 25th. Fast forward to the 30th. I decided to say, I'm going to go to the hospital because I am a late majority. I'm a waited out type of person, and I am a last adopter. So although my husband and my mom were like, you need to go to the hospital, I said, I'm getting better, Yeah. So I am going to the hospital. Let me say before this, I had never had a CV test before. This was my first time, and I had gotten the most invasive one. For some reason, they had to go all the way to the top. And during the testing, I was just so mad because it was so invasive. I cried, but I was also I think that there was just a lot going on within me too. And so afterwards, I remember calling my mom, and we had like a little, mother-daughter spat or spout, whatnot, just going back and forth. And we're both raising our voices, and I'm raising my voice in response to her, I should say. And by the time I came home, I was like hoarse, and it wasn't getting better. And I remember just being so upset about the way this thing had transpired, and because I was able to track it. Well, I got it from my husband. Really, let me just say that. But I got it from my husband, but it didn't hit him like it hit me. Let me just say that it didn't hit him like it hit me. So, and I was upset because I had gotten tested before he did. So, I'm coming back home and I'm I'm barking, letting him have it rather than being emotionally responsible. So, fast forward again, my mom came the day before Thanksgiving. We're doing eucalyptus steam treatments. I'm trying to walk up and down the stairs. I'm taking walks around the neighborhood just to get my breath up, because at this time I'm out of breath. I'm shortness of breath, and I'm not sure what's going on. I'm coughing up some look, that's TMI. Listen, I'm out of breath, and I decided to say, okay, at this point I was afraid to go to sleep, and I was a little panicky because while I was asleep, I would wake up fear that I would stop breathing. So finally I went to the hospital. They said, Monique, you have pneumonia. And my naive self, I thought CV was pneumonia, or at least a type of it. But I had CV and pneumonia. And all I can remember from that experience was just really trying to use the bedside commode, and it being such an exhausting experience, right? My husband wasn't able to come back with me because I had CV. So I was back there, in ER by myself. And then I transferred to another hospital within the community. So they said, Monique, I guess they didn't have enough beds. I really don't know why, to be honest, but I transferred to another hospital. And from there, again, I don't remember much about the experience except for a bad nurse. I remember actually panicking a lot, or just being really agitated. And they're like, man, we just need you to calm down. And I'm thinking, I'm here at the hospital. Don't you have something to calm me down? Put something in my IV or something to help me out. And I also remember having this phases of different levels of oxygen that I could take, because I went to the hospital for labored breathing, low oxygen, and just shortness of breath. And I had a little nasal cannula, just like a little thing they put in your nose and go around. So that was cool. My numbers, my SpO2 numbers, which measures the oxygen level in the blood, my SpO2 numbers were good, 95 or so. But before going to the hospital, because I had purchased an what do you call this thing? A pulse ox, which measures the like your oxygen percentage or whatever in your blood. And I was low, like low 70s, sometimes the 60s, and I didn't really know how to breathe to get it back up. I noticed that it will fluctuate a lot, and I also learned this afterwards when I was in rehab, that I was breathing through my chest rather than breathing through my diaphragm and my abdomen, and like watching my tummy, my abs just, you know, get inflate and deflate. So we're getting different levels of oxygen. Start with the nasal cannula, boom, great. We graduate to the BiPAP machine, which is crazy. Boom, all this oxygen just like blowing into my nose, and at this time I'm panicking because for some reason I couldn't. What the nurses were telling me, it don't even matter. I was just in a panic until this man came in and he looked at, was looking at my chart, and he was like, "Ma'am, you're panicking. Don't work against this. Let the oxygen, let the machine do the work." And I'm like, "Thank you. No one's told me that, because I'm trying to breathe through this machine that's just like pressure, a lot of oxygen, giving me a lot of pressure." Now, I remember my father, who passed away from ALS in 2000. When he was asleep, I know he had I think it was called a CPAP machine, and it would, kind of give some oxygen. But other than that, I hadn't really had any experience with this. So, they're trying to give it to me, and I'm just like, "No, thank you." They're like, "Ma'am, if you don't do this, you're going to have to be intubated." I'm like, "What's that?" They're like, "It's when they put breathing tubes down your throat to help you breathe." Girl, my silly, naive self was like, "Oh, I'm thinking," I didn't say this out loud, but I'm like, "That don't sound too bad." That don't sound too bad. So, anywho, I don't know really kind of what happened to the escalation, but fast forward, and all I remember is that it's December 21st. I'm waking up in my non-sedated state. It's December 21st, and all I can think of, like, oh my goodness, it's almost Christmas, my babies. Like, what's going on? What's happening? I wake up and I see pictures of myself, my family, John, like just separate pictures of me and the girls. And so separate pictures of me, and then, John and the girls. John and the girls, I should say. So family picture. And I'm like, "Oh, this is so nice. I'm sure he put this up too. Like, I feel so loved." And let me say this. I'm really glad that happened, because in the hospital, these healthcare providers have a lot of tough decisions, because I was in the ICU where there were only 15 beds for the CV floor. Let me just say that, for the CV floor. But yeah, I just remember waking up and I'm like, what's going on? So when my husband came to visit, well, let me just say this. He was visiting often, like almost every day. But when I recognized that it was him, because I'm in my non-sedated awake state, he's talking to me, but I can't talk because I still have tubes down my throat. So he was like, "Monique, you are at Barnes Jewish," which is a really, accredited hospital here. And before, I was at like a local hospital. And after reading the reviews, I should not have gone there cold. Like, unless I had a physician that was really associated with that hospital, I probably should not have gone there, to be honest with you, because we kind of suspected some, we don't know. My husband he suspected some foul play going on, because at first, like, one doctor was saying Monique is cool, it's good. Then when he speaks to this other doctor, he's saying, yeah, she needs to be on the ventilator. And he's like, no ventilator. And then he's changing it to talk about breathing treatment. So he didn't like that kind of switch of words. Although maybe people in the medical profession will use those words synonymously. But anywho, he was like, "I'm getting Monique out of here." So he transferred me, and I'm glad that happened. He transferred me to a hospital that had better care, better equipment, more of a research institution, and just better equipped to deal with what I was going through. So again, I'm there. I went in, I had CV and pneumonia. Come to find out, he told me, he was like, "You're at Barnes." He's just telling me everything that's happening. And I'm just like, so happy to see him. And I remember even before coming in, my nurse said, "Your husband's going to be here. He's been coming in regularly. He should be here around 7 o'clock, which was a great time, because that's the time where, there's a shift change. And my husband's the type of person where he wants to make sure that his wife is taken care of. So he wants to know who was here before, give me the rundown, and who's going to be here with her through the night. What else should I say about this? Listen, if you hear me breathing, I'm still in recovery. because you know I already talk fast. But I'm also putting the story and the pieces together. Like, I'm still really processing the severity of what I went through. So again, not only did I have CV and pneumonia, but because of that, I also had respiratory failure. Now, I don't look like what I've been through. Thank God. I am okay. And I say that because, oh, this is what I wanted to tell you. So when John, you know, I'm up and he's talking to me, he was like, Monique, you were on death's door. Stop. Fast forward. Let me go back a little bit. First day, you know, it's December 21st. The nurse is like, your husband's going to come in. And so when he finally came in that day, because I'm not watching no TV, I'm building up my inner spirit to be able to just kind of process what's happening. No TV, no phone. Not that I could use it anyway, but just because of like my fine motor skills, you know, my muscles atrophying and things like that. So he's like, somebody's here to see you, and I have mittens on. And because I'm also intubated at this time, so I'm frustrated with that. So I'm just like, yeah, he's here, you know, like this. So he came in, he like broke down, just teared up, like, I knew you were coming home. I knew you was gonna make it. I knew that you would come home. I knew you was gonna come out. And you know, he told me, he was like, you know, when we get out here, we adjusting your crown and we moving forward because we got work to do. And that left such an indelible mark upon me. That left such an indelible mark upon me. Because I'm like, who thinks like that? I'm in the hospital. I've been here for I don't even know how long. Well, I do know how long, but I've been here for so long and I don't even know what has really happened. I'm thinking I'm just sleeping. I'm just kind of waking up. Although I do vaguely remember being like, having this man come in who had a different kind of mask on. I think it was like a KN95, like a different kind of mask, glasses. I didn't recognize it was my husband until later on, because I'm like, who is this man asking about all my medicines and stuff? He just worked for the hospital. It just don't make no sense. Trying to find out it was John. And anytime he would come, I guess I would get so excited that they would have to sedate me because my heart rate was going up so much. Now, the 21st, I'm in my non-sedated state. The 22nd, the tubes are removed, so I'm extubated. Pull the tubes out. Great. So when John comes in the second day, he's like, baby, you know, like, you were on death's door. And I'm thinking, like, because I'm big on words, like, babe, like, sir, you got to be careful how you're talking around me in the hospital. I was not on death's door. He's like, Monique, you were. You have no idea what transpired and what could have happened, and all these different medications that I'm on and things like that. So fast forward a little bit, as I come home, I'm talking to another doctor who's a family friend. He's actually my mom's cousin. And let me say this too, how everything is just so serendipitous as I'm putting this together. My mom used to always say, Monique, you have a cousin who's a physician. You should reach out. You should reach out to him and talk. And I'm like, Mom, what am I going to say? Like, make the connection. What you want me to do? And when John came to see me, he was like, Monique, you have a cousin named Dr. Carver. And I'm like, just nodding because I couldn't, I'm got tubes down my throat at this time. So I'm just like thinking how serendipitous this whole situation is. And he has been so instrumental because he was on the front lines in the beginning. So he was so instrumental in John and my mom being able to consult with him before going to the doctor, so that everything could either be, he can identify any inconsistencies, and he loved when there was consistencies, but, asking the right questions to the physicians and the nurse, all the healthcare staff who's really caring for me. So when I talked to my cousin, who's a doctor, afterward, this is after rehab and everything, and he was like, Monique, you really were close to seeing the other side. I'm like, Doc, but was I really though? He was like, Monique, listen, you were on 3 medications at the highest level already. And this is at the time when I was transported from the local hospital. I'm going to call it, I ain't going to say it, the Rinky Dink. I'm going to call it the Rinky Dink Hospital. And it wasn't really Rinky Dink. It's just management. It's just poor management. The poorly managed hospital we're just going to call it the better hospital. So he was like, yeah, anything could have happened. You were at it at the highest level. And that's something I think about my blood pressure, whether it was already high. I also learned that there was one medication, because doctors, when I was in rehab, the doctor would come in and be like, you okay? Like, no kidney problems? And so John was like, you know why he asking you that? Because you were on this certain medication that impacts the kidney. So, you know, by speaking to our cousin who's a physician, John was able to go and talk to the doctors who were caring for me and like, well, hey, how long, like, you know, what's the deal with this medication? How long is she going to be on it? How is it being monitored? Because my concern is kidney failure. And so apparently the doctor was looking at him like, how does this man know about like the impacts of these medications? So that's that. Again, a long story short, or long story longer. I went in the hospital November 30th. I was discharged from the hospital December 30th. So Christmas I was in the hospital. And then I had a 2-week rehab session so I could learn how to walk again. I could learn how to like do my hair and like have the energy and sort of recondition, because what happened to me is that, how many of you know, being in bed for a month, you're going to atrophy, okay? Not only that, but when I arrived at Barnes, according to my medical records, I was intubated, sedated, and paralyzed. How many of you know that's a medically induced coma? And it's just so crazy for me to be sharing this with you right now. Crazy, but not crazy. Because I remember asking God when I was in the first hospital. And I was like, should I share this? Never mind. I'm going to keep that with me. Okay, so I'm trying to put the pieces together. I thought I had it all outlined in my notes, but now I see the story's still all over the place. So I appreciate you just bearing with me and taking time. There's so much to tell. I get excited telling the story. Like, I want to tell you all to the point where I'm getting out of breath and my lungs are still recovering. So, yeah. I was in the hospital. I did not see my kids for 6 weeks. Although I did speak with them in meals. Her thing was like, Mommy, I don't like your voice, Mommy. Your voice. And at this time, I think I was in rehab at that time. Or I could have been on a different floor. So I went to like 3 different levels. I was on the ICU floor. Then I went to the regular CV floor. I was there for about 2 to 3 days. And then I went to a regular care floor. So my healing was really miraculous. It was very, from what I've been told, like just doing great. Let me say this too. I can just remember talking to the nurse. And so he was like, you know, Monique, just slow, deep breaths. And I remember just asking, like, teach me how to breathe. He would come in, ma'am, do you need anything else? I was like, yes. Can you teach me how to breathe? They're like, ma'am, Miss Monique, you're doing really well. And that's the like go-getter in me. Just like, I want to do this well so I can get out of here. He's like, Miss Monique, you're doing really well. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm doing so well, why do I hear this nurse telling me I'm failing the breathing treatment and the experiment? Something about the machine is doing 80% of the work. No, I'm doing 80% and the machine is doing 20%. I'm like, that sounds like a win to me. But right after that is when the tubes were removed. So yeah, fast forward, I'm learning how to walk again. Let me tell you what really took me out. When I was transferred from ICU floor to the regular floor, to a regular CV floor, and the gentleman asked, me, did I want to use the pot? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go get it. I can try it. So he picks me up and I think I have a gate belt on. No, I don't know if I have a gate belt on at this time, actually. He picks, like, I'm sitting on the bed, so I stand up and I almost buckle. I did not know that I couldn't walk, and I didn't know that my knees and like my legs would really give way. So he pivots me, sit me on the commode, and he's like, you know, I'm just like, whoa, what is going on? Like, whoa, this is too much because everything is spinning. I feel so weak. He was like, hey, lady, I don't know you yet. Like, don't give out on me. I'm like, put me back in the bed. And if there's anything that really surprised me, you know, as you get older, you know that maybe sickness is going to happen, but I never foresaw rehabilitation as a part of my story. My father didn't have that. just given his condition with ALS. And there is no one else who's close to me that I know who had to really go through the part of rehabilitation and learning how to walk again and doing all these different things, just activities of daily living. And that just really blew me away. And I was like, well, what is this all about? And that's when I started to wonder, like, well, can I get back to me? Like, what's going to happen after this? You know, but I'm glad to say I'm good. Like, no swallow issues. Yeah, I feel really, 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 really blessed. And I will say this. So when I was at the first hospital and I was just praying and thinking, like, man, like this breathing, because let me tell you, breathing is easy until it isn't. And I remember just like praying and being like, God, how can I get out of this? And I heard, intubation, I'll bring you out. And I was like, see, man, that's why I'm being proud. That's why sometimes I'll be afraid to pray, because I'm afraid of what I'm going to hear. And mind you, intubation, when the nurse told me, was like, you know, Miss Monique, if you don't do this, you're going to have to be intubated. I don't believe I had ever heard that word before. And little did I know, I did not know that intubation was the process of putting tubes down your throat to connect you to the ventilator, which is life support. Like, again, I had no reason to know that because my father didn't go through that, and there was no one else in my family who had, or anyone that I know who had really been through that experience. And so, you know, just thinking about that and hearing the story, you know, back on the back end, and knowing that at one point I was on 100% oxygen, that it's like, whoa, what is really going on? But, you know, I'm young and I have no coexisting conditions, so I'm good. I will say, after everything, of course, I didn't get to see my girls while I was there, but I'm home now, and it, you know, it just feels, I can see the safety that they see when, and, you know, by having mom home. And thank God I got a man who is for me. So this is I want to tell you about that. I want to talk about marriage, life, relationships, and also want to share with you just like a business update, because they're all connected. So many of you know I've been talking about, I am a pioneer on the topic of femininity for Black women on YouTube. And one of the things that has been a challenge for me is being consistent. Like, consistent with my videos, consistent with putting out content, consistent with running my programs. And a lot of things have happened in life. Giving birth twice. So I know that I'm probably all over the place. It's because I'm still processing the severity of what I went through. And oftentimes, unless I look down and see my battle scars, sometimes I wonder, like, did this really happen? Like, was I really there? And, you know, I have the memories, but listen, it's here. I remember on December 22nd or so, maybe even later, actually. And I'm like, how did I get acne on my neck? Because I had so many bumps right here, acne from all the monitors and not being able to really care for myself properly. And, you know, nurses ain't going to do it like they're supposed to. Some of them, I should say, not all of them. But, you know, John had to remind me, he was like, Monique, that's not acne, those are scars. And I'm like, from what? And he's like, those are lines. And apparently they're like really elevated IVs, and they put a needle in you, sutured me up, I should say. But yeah, that's the story. A lot has happened. A lot has transpired. And don't worry, I am recovering. I am recovering well. I will say, even my breath capacity has deepened, and it had taken me a while to do this video because I didn't have the breath capacity to do so. Like, in rehab, when I first went to rehab, so December 30th, I remember the first day, the first of the second, no, December 31st, I was, you know, doing different assessments, and I couldn't even inhale for a count of 2. Now, you know how they say inhale for a count of 4? All I had was, that was it. Like a count of 1 inhale, but my exhale was flowing. So I'm saying that to say I'm so grateful that my breath is deepening, and I'm taking deeper breaths. My lung capacity is really expanding, and I'm healed, and like I'm thanking God in advance for the healing. So you don't have to worry about me in that range. But I do believe that there is a blessing on my life. So, if I ever thought that I wasn't a child or woman of God, like, it has been proven to me that I am covered. And so I really believe in just the blessing over my life and being able to share this story with you and do my work, like do my part to build God's kingdom in this earth, do my part to usher women into the next phase of love and life. And speaking about the next phase, a part of, this is part 2 of the video, so I don't know if I shared this already, but I remember being in the hospital and this gentleman coming in regularly. This is when I was sort of in my sedated state. So he was wearing a different type of mask and had glasses and, a different hair. And this person was there regularly, and I thought that the man worked for the hospital, and then he would ask about my medications. I'm like, why is this man so concerned about my medications? And it's almost like he was learning. It turns out it was my husband. And when I told him about this, he was like, well, Monique, who else would it be? And I'm like, So it made me think, like, why did I have these thoughts? So this is the shift into the marriage portion update, right? So I kept thinking, well, why didn't I think it was him? And so I've come to the conclusion that it was for 2 reasons. Number one, at the first hospital, I could not have any visitors. Right? So he couldn't even come back there with me. And the second reason, and this is the second reason, this is how this is just an example of my own brokenness. And it's cool because God uses broken people to do big things in the world. This is a part of my imposter syndrome for why you didn't see me showing up consistently. It's linked. Again, I'll share with you. But I think there was a part of me that felt that they did not believe that anyone could come through for me in the way that he did. No man could come through for me like my mom would, right? Meaning that this person brought me, with God's help, of course, loved me to life. In there, Monique, you getting better every day, right? When I couldn't speak and it was up, he was like, baby, he had notes. This is what it is. This is what, look, you getting stronger every day. You getting stronger. We're going to get you out of here. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh, wow, like this man is really for me. And I knew it at a practical level. I knew it like just at a surface level, but I didn't have that bone deep. And that's my healing that has to be done, right? I didn't believe it at the bone deep that he would come through in the way that he had for me and for us. It was such evidence of his commitment to me and to our marriage and to our family. And I'm sharing this with you because maybe you feel the same way. Like no man has ever really been there for you. And not to say that no man has been there for me, because I've had relationships before where the men were totally committed. It was always me who was like, oh, no. But, and even still in my marriage, I should say that it was always me who was like, oh, yeah. So this goes deep. And because of that, because of everything that preceded that, before getting sick, I had gotten CV from John, but it didn't hit me. It didn't hit him like it hit me. And I'm saying this to say that there's so many things that are working in the spiritual realm to try to take us out, that wants to take marriage, like married couples, marriage, covenant marriage, and children out. This is the enemy, not so many things, but the enemy and his peons in the spirit realm, right? Satan's peons in the spirit realm. And I know in the earthly realm, it's just like, Monique, it was CV going around. Like, what do you think? But this was different. And so many of the other workings that happened afterward, in terms of the relationship between my mom and husband, the cousin who I hadn't reached out to, but who my mom was telling me to reach out to, and how he was such an amazing resource. All the love that we felt, mine being able to have an opportunity to have a pattern interrupt and have a reset. Because how many of you know that's when your life is on the line and everybody's telling you, not that I had the remnants of it, my breathing, because a part of it too, I was like, God, how am I going to go in, come out the same way I went in? It don't make sense, and maybe even come out worse. But I was like, okay, I'm already healed. It's been revealed. I'm good. I can't bring up these old things. And that was a part of my problem in marriage, like bringing up old stuff and holding on to this grudge. Remember? Holding on just to be like, I told you so. And that impacted how I was showing up, because my inconsistency was a part of feeling like an imposter. And not like I don't trust myself in my work. That's not it. It was more like out of integrity, because I was like, I got some good stuff here. I have quality content, like women are getting results, but it's like, how can I show up for other women and talk about love and being on this path to love when we ain't even on the same page? Like, we're arguing, or we're not being intimate. All these different things that are happening. So those are ways that I believe the enemy wants to take me out the game. And I'm just saying this to encourage you to be mindful of when you get stuck, that these thoughts are not just your own, right? There are seeds that are planted through suggestion to keep you off track. And that is what was happening, because I was just like playing this superwoman role and taking on the burden. And I told John, like, listen, okay, you can't be sick no more, because I'm sick now. So, and then going into the hospital and being so resistant to care for myself. I will say that in the early parts of it, because November 16th, maybe the 15th is when it started. Yeah, because I went to the center on a Saturday. So let's say the 15th, could have been the 14th. But I didn't have the resolve to even care for myself. I was not putting myself first. I was not watering my own garden. And a part of that, I believe, is, my immune system weakened severely and just being mad. Like, my mom was like, you got to go to the hospital. I'm just like, no, I don't need to go. I'm getting better. Or just being resistant to drinking water and doing the things that I know to do, but I'm not doing it for whatever reason. Pride. Not so much pride, just being just mad, like being mad, addicted to the drama. And I've talked about this before in several videos, So that impacted the way I was showing up. That, and having a fear like, if I become super successful, this is going to break my marriage, because my mindset was all flawed. And more specifically, I remember in 2018, when our first daughter was born, one of my videos went, viral, and I had a whole bunch of women coming into the fold, and I didn't have the infrastructure to be able to hold it. And more specifically, I remember having calls. So I was enrolling women for my 12-month program and FemAllure Academy. And I remember having calls, and one day, this was like the end of March. So this is like a month or so before I was due. And I was on the phone from 8 a.m. in the morning till about 9 p.m. at night. I probably had like an hour lunch, and maybe 2 women didn't show up for a call. So 2 no shows. But that was such a burden. And I said, you know what? Everyone in this coaching world is talking about 6 figures. And I'm just like, not like this. Because that was my biggest year financially. And I was like, not like this. This can't go on. I cannot focus on ambition and success and business to the detriment of my own lifestyle, to the detriment of my health, to the detriment of my marriage and building a relationship and being present and not just being on the phone, even though we're in the same room with each other. That's not what I foresaw or foresee for myself. But I was on this path and on this trajectory, getting lost in my business so that I didn't have to deal with what was going on at home. And it wasn't anything bad. It was just really getting on the same page and coming together as one and not being annoyed with each other. Like, oh, why would you do such a thing like that? The differences in coming from 2 different family of origins, from a different state, different generations. Me as the child, the daughter of Jamaican immigrants, it's just like, whoa, we got some working out to do. Right. And because of that, it impacted my content and what I was trying to create. And I was like, I ain't got nothing to say. So I'm sharing that with you because another reason I would say I wasn't making videos consistently, and this is where you come in, is because I just feel like they were boring. Remember, I didn't have anything to say, and I was like, this content is getting kind of boring. And when I first started doing videos like years ago, I would do like different tutorials and things like that. And then I just sort of got caught up within this coaching world about, I don't know, looking at everyone else and maybe doing it a different way, rather than just being me, letting it flow, doing some tutorials, doing some beauty regimens, showing my hair, showing my nails, the skin. And yeah, I just kind of got away from it. So here's why I'm sharing this with you. Here's your assignment. I would love to hear from you and to ask you if there's one thing that I could teach you, if there's one thing that you would want to learn, if there's one thing that you would want me to make a video about, what would that be? Please go ahead and just put that in the comment section. And before I go, I want you to know one of the things that I have learned is that it is important to have people to share life with, right? We felt, and I felt so much love. Our girls did not want for anything for Christmas, because I was in the hospital Christmas and New Year's. Our girls didn't want for anything. So much like love, having a romantic partner, right? Love of a masculine man, somebody who is for you, your person, as well as having friendships with other women is so valuable. Like earlier, like in my college years, I have friends, but I did not really value what women bring to the table in terms of friendships. Because it was like, you can't give me no kids, so if we gonna beef it out, I'm going this way, right? That is what my view was. And I think a part of that was just attributed to how I was raised. Like, you have no friends because friends will get you in trouble. I am God and your brothers are your friends, right? So I get that, but also didn't really understand the mark that it was leaving in me unconsciously. And so it wasn't until I had gotten married that I realized, like, oh, I need to be around some other women, because, you know, my feminine spirit is livelier. I feel more like a feminine woman. I feel like I get to have a release, you know, and it's just fun. It's just fun having some good girlfriends that you can really just talk with, share some updates, have a good story, have a good laugh, have a good time, you know, enjoy some good food and good conversation. And really, where you can just be yourself. I have found that women that I can just really sort of be myself with has been invaluable. So I'm sharing that with you because, listen, I've been there. Ain't no need for me to be having no 7-figure business in my life and I have nobody with me on my deathbed, as the doctors say. But because I ain't claiming that. All right. But it's true. It's true. I'm speaking to somebody today. Listen, if this has blessed you, I want you to go ahead and sow a seed. I want to encourage you to sow a seed. I am open to receiving all the blessings, receiving all the healing. My Cash App is there in the description box. Go ahead and sow a seed if you've been blessed by this. I welcome that. I welcome that. So thank you in advance. And again, go ahead and share. What is that one thing that you would love for me to make a video about? Okay. In terms of beauty, wellness, and feminine influence. I'm so glad to be here. I love you. Thank you for watching.